Welcome back to Chapter 6, General Approaches to Working with Young Children with Exceptionalities. So if you've ever wondered how teachers actually manage classrooms where every single student learns a little differently, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're diving into this explainer to talk about exceptionalities, which really just means kids who might have learning delays, physical disabilities, or even kids who are exceptionally gifted.
To figure all this out, we're going to look at 5 main tools for your classroom blueprint. We'll cover what to do before an assessment, arts and behavioral approaches, Bloom's taxonomy, assistive technology, and finally, RTI and universal design.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, before recommending an assessment.
Look, misdiagnosing a child puts massive stress on both the school and the family. It's a huge deal. So teachers really need to hit pause and check themselves first. They have to ask, are my expectations appropriate? Is the classroom environment actually to blame here? Are my own biases at play? For example, is the child actually struggling with a learning disability? Or are they just still learning to speak English? Is the classroom maybe missing chances for kids to get up and move around? We absolutely have to look at the environment before we go slapping a label on a student.
Moving right along to Section 2, arts and behavioral approaches.
First up, the creative arts. Now, sometimes art gets unfairly treated as a blow-off class, or, just a treat for when the real work is done. But actually, scratch that. It's crucial brain work. It is so vital because it gives exceptional children total control over their learning. It's their chance to shine outside of normal academics. Plus, it deeply empowers spatial and kinesthetic learners. Those are the students who learn best by seeing, getting up, moving, and making things with their own 2 hands.
Now, on the completely opposite, more structured side, we have behaviorism. This uses techniques like task analysis. The whole point here is taking a massive, overwhelming chore and just chopping it down into tiny, manageable steps. Instead of giving a kid one huge instruction that might totally confuse them, you break it down into bite-sized pieces.
For example, using applied behavioral analysis, or ABA, a teacher doesn't just bark, "Hey, wash your hands." No way. They teach 6 specific steps, like getting the soap, rubbing palms together, cleaning between the fingers, using positive reinforcement until the child masters the entire sequence. Basically, every small victory gets a reward.
And to teach these steps, educators use what we call prompts. You might hear educators call this scaffolding, which really just means building temporary support. Think of prompts exactly like training wheels on a bicycle. You start with something highly supportive, like physically guiding a student's hand right over the soap dispenser. Then you slowly pull those training wheels back. Maybe you just point or ask a quick question until the student can do the task totally solo, without any adult help at all.
Okay, next is Section 3, Bloom's taxonomy of objectives.
Think of this pyramid kind of like cooking a recipe. At the very bottom, you have basic skills. You have to remember and understand your basic ingredients before you can climb all the way up to the top to evaluate and create your own original dish. It's a step-by-step hierarchy that progresses from really simple facts up to super complex thinking.
The absolute secret for teachers here is flexibility. You don't always have to start exceptional students at the absolute bottom, boring them to tears with basic facts. Instead, you find the right level to challenge them and build up their learning from there. You can move up and down this pyramid depending entirely on what the student needs at that specific day to stay interested and motivated.
That brings us to Section 4, assistive technology in classrooms. Did you know educational laws actually require school teams to consider using assistive technology to help a student maintain or improve their abilities? But wait, technology in this context might not mean what you think it means. It is definitely not just computers or high-tech robots.
Because, really, assistive tech isn't just expensive iPads. It includes incredibly helpful low-tech modifications too. Things like a tall step-up tool for the sink or an adapted toilet seat. These are brilliant pieces of tech because they allow a child to navigate their world safely and, more importantly, completely independently.
Finally, we have reached Section 5, RTI and universal design. Let's start with RTI, which stands for Response to Intervention. Honestly, think of RTI almost like a medical checkup, but for the classroom. It provides progressive, regular monitoring of all students to catch early signs of a struggle. This is huge because it prevents educators from making inappropriate special education referrals just because a student had, one really bad week.
So it works in 3 distinct steps, or tiers. We start with Tier 1, which is just general instruction for everyone.
If someone is struggling there, they move to Tier 2 for targeted small group intervention, which just means a bit of extra help for about 20% of the class. Now, if a student still really needs support, they move to Tier 3, where they get intensive individual instruction. It is highly personalized, kind of like having a personal trainer for your brain. We're going to wrap up with Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. This is actually a concept borrowed right out of architecture. Think about how a wheelchair ramp at a building entrance helps everyone, people pushing strollers, people carrying heavy boxes, not just folks in wheelchairs, right? Well, in the classroom, UDL ensures our curriculum is completely flexible from day one. We offer students multiple ways to take in information, multiple ways to show what they've learned, and multiple ways to just stay engaged.
So as we close out today, I want you to ask yourself, how does adapting our classrooms for exceptional students actually build a better, more effective learning environment for absolutely everyone? Because the reality is, when we design a classroom where the most struggling student can succeed, we almost always end up making learning way better for the entire room. Keep that in mind as you think about how education really works. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.